Alright, legends, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews. Now, we're going to get into a little chat about the new reboot of Quantum Leap that's just been reported recently. And I have been toying about with actually reviewing the show on here, as I'm a fairly big fan of the original. I remember watching it weekly whenever the show first came out, the box set right here. But there's a reason why I'm not going to do it on this show. I am, however, at some point going to do it on my science fiction podcast, because I think it just would fit nicely in there, even though that podcast right here, Skin Me Up Body, is more or less, well, 100% a Star Trek podcast right now. But Quantum Leap and all those sorts of shows, maybe we'll go into a random Saturday episode on a weekly basis. And the reason why I'm going to do it in the podcast, independent from YouTube, is because there's quite a few episodes in the original run of the series that dealt with subjects that are, they're taboo subjects, let's just say, and in today's culture, people, I genuinely believe that show, the original Quantum Leap, was aired now on television in the exact form that it was back in the day, it would be fairly swiftly cancelled, because there's a lot of stuff on there that people just would not take kindly to. Like, they deal with a lot of issues like race, sexuality, all that sort of stuff. Some fairly taboo subjects at the time. And what I'd say about dealing with race subjects, the concept of the show, the original show, was Dr. Sam Beckett, Scott Bakula, although I've heard his name been pronounced Bakula, but I like to say Bakula because it sounds like Dracula. Dr. Sam Beckett performing an experiment on time travel. There's this thing called the Quantum Leap Accelerator, and in the pilot episode, his friend on the project gets a call from the secret mountain base where the Quantum Leap Accelerator is at. Dean Stockwell's character, he gets a call. Sam has stepped into the machine. They can't stop it. Sam disappears, and essentially in each episode, he was leaping. As they said, there was time traveling through time, not in. It's not like Back to the Future, where he had like a time machine where he physically got onto it and went to a different time period. It ended up in the body of another person, and as far as the viewer was concerned, they were seeing Scott Bakula on screen, but anybody else in the episode were seeing the person that he replaced in each episode. And the concept was he couldn't leap again until he corrected some sort of wrong in that person's life, or someone that person was related to. Someone needed saving, and he had to basically right wrongs in each episode. And whenever he completed the assignment, essentially, he would just glow with energy. The electricity would pass through his body, and he'd bounce from that life to another one. And a few of the episodes, as I say, in that original series, he would jump into the body of, say, somebody else of a different race, and there'd be racial slurs thrown at him quite a few times in the episodes. I remember me and my brother, actually, every night of the week, essentially, we sit down to dinner and we'll watch an episode of an old show. We're currently going through the Rockford Files right now, which is class. If you've never seen that show, check that out. But we did Quantum Leap about 1.5 to 2 years ago, and the N-word was dropped in one of the episodes, and literally me and the brother both jaws dropped open. It's just, in this culture, we're not used to hearing that anymore. But back whenever this show came out, we weren't as we were more tough-skinned at that stage. And it's not that I approve of that sort of thing, but whenever you're dealing with those sorts of issues, and the context of the show, where someone has time travelled back in time and they're witnessing and living somebody's dealings with racial hatred, of course those sorts of terms are going to be thrown about fairly loosely, but as I say, that would not fly today. Quantum Leap in its original form would be fairly swiftly cancelled in today's culture, which is why I'm not holding out much faith for this new series. It's been reported it's been greenlit for a pilot episode on NBC. I'd be very curious to check it out. It's been 30 years odd since this show was out, and times have changed, and basically the only thing we're hearing about it so far, it's 30 years since Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator and vanished. Now a new team has been assembled to restart the project in the hopes of understanding the mysteries behind the machine and the man who created it. Now, of course, Scott Bakula is not officially attached to this project just yet, but I do know in the past there was quite a few chats about possibly bringing the show back. Now I'm talking, this is a handful of years after the show finished, and they had talked about continuing it on as maybe not a series but a handful of TV movies to kind of close it off. And the final episode of the original series, it's a tough one to explain. I would highly recommend you checking out the box set, but be very, very aware going into it. If you are easily offended, I know this is kind of painting it as a show that's offensive, but it's not meant to be. It's a family show, but it didn't shy away from dealing with those issues that today people get offended at absolutely everything these days. I've said it countless times on this show and everything. That's why I'm holding that for the podcast. But in the final episode of the original series, Sam kind of got the option to return home or continue leaping, and he made a decision at the end of the episode, and all these shows are the same. Like, one person could watch it, take something completely different from it, but they weren't sure exactly why he was leaping in the original series. Now, if they try to explain that in this one, I believe they could ruin it. But Sam never returned home at the end of the last series. That's all you got at the end of it. There was a wrong that he could have put right at one point earlier in the series. I believe it was somewhere in around season 2, where he could have, it was either close to the end of season 1 or in season 2, there was a thing that he could have done for Al, his friend Al, that helps him in the series, and he chose not to do that because that's not what he was there to do. And at the end of the episode, last episode of the run, he been offered the chance. He's basically told you can leap home at any point, and at the end of the series he says, well, I can't because there's a wrong I have to put right for Al, and he leaps and takes care of that, and that's where the show kind of finished off. But the talk back then was to continue on from there and see where it happened, but to try and deal with that now in a new series, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. There's part of me is interested to check it out. Now, don't get me wrong, this pilot goes ahead, I'm going to sit down and check it out. I'm not holding out faith of it getting greenlit for, like, all they're saying here essentially right now, that it has been greenlit for a pilot episode at NBC. That does not mean that it's going to get a series. It may even mean we don't even get to see the pilot episode. Like, take Star Trek, for example. The Cage, the original pilot episode, originally shot and produced back in the 60s. We did not get to see a frame of that episode until the mid-90s, if memory serves right. Although in the 2-part episode, The Menagerie, they found an ingenious way of bringing that opening pilot episode into a 2-parter in the first season of Star Trek. So they got to kind of use it in a way, but we didn't see the original edit of it because it was greenlit for the pilot to be shot, but it didn't successfully get the series. They had to go do a second pilot. The second pilot was picked up, and then they went to series. So, even though we're getting the news that Quantum Leap has the pilot episode greenlit, doesn't mean we're going to get a series. But I will sit down, check it out. But I've got a lot of love for this series, and I don't feel that it could work. I genuinely don't feel that it could work. The interesting thing about Quantum Leap now, the ins and outs of the show, they're going to have to stick with the lore that's already there. Now, Sam was leaping about in time and space, but he was only jumping between his own lifespan. So, he was born, I'm trying to get this right now. The show aired in the 80s. It was set in the show was aired in the 90s, sorry. And the pilot episode, I'm trying to remember what year that was. I think it was probably 98, 99 or something like that. But he could only leap within his own lifespan. So say he was born in 1930, he could only leap back and forth in time from 1930 to 1999 or 1998, whatever it was. Whatever time he, it doesn't project his death or anything like that there. It's more or less the age he is. From the day he was born to the age he is now, he can jump back and forth in that space of time. So to bring this show back now with a new cast of characters, they're going to be young. They're going to have younger people in there. And that's going to drastically bring your range of jumping about. So say someone has been born in 1991, they can only jump between 1991 and 2022, compared to the time frame of the original series and his lifespan from 1930, whatever it may have been, up until the 90s. A lot of interesting stuff happened in history back then. Now, in all fairness, since 1991 to present day, some really, really interesting and tragic stuff has happened, don't get me wrong, but could you deal with any of that? If they're going to be dealing with huge cultural things and events in the last 30 years, say, it's, there's going to be quite a few people maybe taking it the wrong way or getting offended at it, and to do a pilot episode that would be impactful enough, they're going to have to hit something big in that opener. And I dread to even, and just with the way content is these days and the sort of stuff you can and you cannot say online, I'd be very, very wary and even guessing at what they might touch on in the last 30 years for the pilot episode. But I'll check it out. I'm not holding out much faith for it at all. I have a lot of love for Quantum Leap in its original form. Brilliant series. If you've never checked this out, I couldn't recommend it higher. It is absolutely great. Fairly dated by today's standards as far as visual effects and that goes, but storytelling is absolutely amazing. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and check out that podcast, Scheme Me Up Body, if you're into your science fiction and whatnot. Star Trek in particular, we're doing 2 episodes a week of that right now over there, and there's other stuff. Check out the links below this video or coinsagemedia.com for absolutely everything. It'll be over there. So take care of yourselves, guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one.